Okay, hello, my name is Dan, and this is a walkthrough of Project 6 for CIS 191 at Cabrillo College. CIS 191 is Linux installation, configuration, and administration, and Project 6 is implementing RAID1. For this particular walkthrough, I am using a virtual machine running Ubuntu 16.4 on my personal computer, and this is a clean installation. What I've gone ahead and done here, I will show you what the layout is as of right now. LS block is SDA1 or SDA is where my file system lives, my root file system. SDB and SDC are 5 gigabyte disks that I've added for the purposes of this walkthrough. What we're going to do is we're going to implement a RAID array for those two disks. It's going to be RAID type 1, which is mirroring, so one disk is going to mirror the other and act as a backup. And the command that we're going to be using is going to be mdatom. That's going to be to manipulate the RAID array. mdatom. Oh, and sudo apt get install mdatom, and I guess that's not a included in the installation, but we'll just go ahead and fetch it here real quick. And let's make these a little bit bigger. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. And well, it's in the process of installing, so let's see. We'll go pop that back in there. Okay, so we want that there, and we want this there. Sorry for the mess. Oh, it still doesn't want to go where I want it to go. Okay, sorry about the mess. Okay, so if we look at the man page for mdatom, manage MD devices or multiple disk devices, aka Linux software RAID. So if we take a look at the instructions for this particular project, it says we'll create a RAID array with 2 disks on our virtual machine. So we're going to, first of all, create the RAID array out of the raw disks. So we're going to use mdatom. We're going to, if we look at the, I'll leave the man page up. So we'll go sudo mdatom, and then we want the mode, and the mode is going to be create. And what we're going to create is /dev/multiple disk 0. And then we're going to go --level. Now this command was given to us. It's on the page for the Project 6 on Mr. Matera's website. But we'll go level 1. That's RAID level 1, which is mirroring. We'll go number of disks -n is going to be 2, and those disks are going to be dev SDC. Dev SDB. And /dev SDC. Okay, so hopefully that is going to create. Oh, it says no, it has metadata if you plan to use it as a boot device, which I don't, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to write the array. It defaulted to version 1.2, and dev md0 has started. So I'll take a look at sudo mdatom --detail, and always got to specify the device. One day I will learn that. Boom. Okay. So this is just the basic details of the MD0 array. A number of different things. It tells you total device right there. And what's important, or what I can see, is active devices 2, working devices 2, failed 0, and spare 0. It also gives status for syncing up of the 2 devices. It gives a universal unique identifier for the array, and then it specifies which devices are in the array. So boom, the array is done. So now what we're going to do is we are going to partition and format the array, and then we are going to move the contents of var www onto the array, and then we're going to mount the whole thing back onto var www, essentially putting our web content onto a different device than our root file system. So now that it's in an array, we are just going to treat that array as a singular object in terms of partitioning and formatting. It is possible to read directly from individual devices in a RAID array, but it was told to me that it is definitely not recommended and actually will cause problems to do like write operations onto the individual members of an array. So we're just going to treat it as a singular thing. So we're going to sudo parted /dev/md0. Okay. And we're going to print. So you can see it's a raw device at this point. We're going to make table. And we want well, actually, let's do this. Help. Always the trusty help. So we're looking right at mk table or mk label. So we'll go mk label, double tab, and we can see that, oh, we'll just hit enter. New disk type, and we'll double tap there, and we want GPT. And now we go print, and we see that partition table is GPT, and there are no partitions down here. So now we want to mkpart. Partition name is going to be www as specified by the instructions. We're going to format it later. Start is going to be 1 megabyte. End is going to be, what's the size of this thing? Actually, it is 5365 megabytes. 5365 MB. Boom. And it's giving me, it says it can't write to the very end, so that is okay. Yes, it is acceptable. Warning, the resulting partition is not properly aligned for best performance. For this particular instance, I don't care because this is just for instructional purposes. Normally, I would realign it. Okay, so now if we go to print, we can see that there is one partition. Everything stays the same. There is one partition. It spans most of the disk. Its name is www. So we are done here in parted. Quit. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to format the partition with the btrfs file system. So we will go make fs-f, make fs.btrfs dev md0. And it's told me this once before, and I think the problem is that it cannot detect existing file system. Not sure why, but -f, and and of course we have to do it as a sudo, and boom, there we go. So now we have a file system with a universal unique identifier. There's all the information regarding block groups and profiles, and size and path and whatnot. So now let's go over here out of the make atom, clear that out, ls block, boom. So now we see right there, that's our RAID array. SDB, SDC, RAID array MD0, and MD0 partition 1. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to copy the contents of the var www directory onto our new file system, which means we have to mount the array. So sudo mount dev md0 onto /mount, boom, ls/mount, nothing in there. However, if we go over here now, repeat the command, we see that both that the md0 device is mounted onto /mount. So now sudo cp recursive and I always forget the name of this option, but it makes sure that the permissions and ownerships are retained in the transfer. Sudo cp the contents of the var www directory into mount. Okay, So now, if we look at, do we have tree? Tree. Nope. Sudo apt get tree. Not really necessary. However, I like the look, and it makes it easy to compare things. And it takes about a second. Okay, so clear. So if we go sudo tree var www, we see there. And if we go sudo tree mount, it is the same. Okay, so we know we successfully copied. So now what we're going to do is we are going to remove unmount sudo umount md0. Okay, and now just to check, ls mount, boom, back to nothing on there, and we're going to sudo mount dev md0 onto slash var slash www. Okay, and again, ls, boom. Okay. ls block. Bam. So now we see that MD0 is on var www. And so now what we're going to do, let's see, sudo, I'm just going to try something here really quick. Sudo mount dev md0 p1 onto slash mount interesting. Okay, well, let's see here. So now what we want to do is we want to update the etc fstab file. In that case, what we need is we need the UUID of the device. So we'll go ls block -f, which is a really useful command, I find, at least. Okay, we see that MD0 is got that UUID, and that's the one that we're going to want to enter into the etc fstab. So we'll go sudo vim etc fstab, oh, and not vimc, sudo vim etc fstab, bam. Okay, enter. Now what you don't know is I did this all once before, and I messed up the etc fstab file, and I had to go through this whole long troubleshooting thing. So I'm not going to make the same mistake this time. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy this by hand. 8C7, or actually by eye. I know this is probably not ideal. However, I don't want to mess with screens right now. E5C dash ABEA dash 4D50 dash A6F3 dash AC68 C469D 9D F42. Okay. And then where we want to mount it is going to be var www, and it is of type butterfs. And then for options, we'll go defaults, and that's where I went wrong last time. I made it singular, and it did not work. 0 for dump, and 3 for passing, and I'm not sure what those numbers mean. But that's what I was told to use. So that should be good. So we're going to write it out. And what should happen now is we're going to restart the system, and it's going to read etc fstab. And it's going to automatically mount the RAID array onto var www, hopefully. Boom. Okay, that went a lot better than last time. A lot better. Okay. Well, assuming that it worked. ls, ls block. Okay, it's mounted onto var ww. Now something to look at. MD0 changed its name to MD127. We talked about this in class. That is okay. Looks like every one of our VMs changed it to MD127, and when I left for the day, Mr. Matera still was not sure why that was happening. Another thing I did notice while I was doing it on my system here, it did not do the same thing on the vCenter at school, but on my system, that partition is no longer visible under ls block. Now if I go into parted, sudo parted, and go dev md127, and we'll go print, it still has one partition on there, and it is of the type butterfs, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. However, it's still functioning, and my guess is if it sees it all as just one partition, then it's just going to treat it like a singular device. I don't know that for sure. That's just my guess. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so that's the first part of implementing RAID1. The second part is that we're going to use mdatom to quote-unquote degrade the array, meaning we're going to use a command to cause, within mdatom, to cause RAID to think that one of the disks failed, so that we can see what that looks like. So if we look at man mdatom, I know already what the command is, but I'm just going to show you here. We're going to search for manage, and it's in one of the modes. And this is a huge man page. So for manage mode, right here. So for manage mode, the things we want to look at add. We're going to be using that eventually. So -A or -ADD. We want to look at -R, which is remove, and we want to look at -F, which is fail. So we'll go, starting from the beginning. Sudo mdatom --detail dev md127, and this is you can see active devices 2, working devices 2. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to change that. So we are going to go sudo mdatom --manage. We're going to manage dev md127. We are going to fail out /dev/sdb. And it says set dev sdb faulty in dev md127. If we go back to details, we see that active devices is 1, working devices is 1, and failed devices is 1. And we see that dev sdb is faulty and SDC is in active sync. So what we want to do now is we want to remove that faulty disk. So go back to the same command, manage mdatom manage dev sd or md127 -remove. And now we see it's hot removed from the array. Once again, take a look at the details. Active devices 1, working devices 1, failed devices 0. And we look down here, it's in active sync, SDC. Okay, so now what we want to do is in the real world, you would actually replace that faulty drive with a new drive, but in this case, it's just we just did this for instructional purposes. We're just going to go ahead and re-add the drive, or we're going to re-add SDB. So again, not much change to the command. Sudo mdatom --manage, same array, and this is going to be a -A to add device SDB. Boom, added device SDB. So now if we take a look at details, we see total RAID devices 2, we see active devices 1, we see working devices 2, and spare devices 1. And if we look down here, we see rebuild status 15%. So what MDAtom is doing, or what the RAID array is doing, is it's resyncing, or it is syncing up the new drive to the old drive, making sure they mirror each other, that there's parity. This process does take a little while, but this is a fairly small disk. So if we take a look, we see that it is all done. And actually, if you look at state from before, is clean, degraded, and recovering at 15%, and now state is clean. And we're back to 2 drives, and they are in full parity, active sync, and we're looking good. So I think that about covers it. That was Project 6, implementing RAID1 in Linux. As always, any feedback would be appreciated, and thank you very much for watching.